Hello and welcome to my tutorial on creating an advanced comment system in PHP. This tutorial will teach you how to create a comment system that includes an anti-spam filter, Google's Recapture system, and some basic input verification. So let's get started. For this tutorial, you're going to need a few files. I've uploaded them to my website, so to download the files, just simply visit www.howtocompute.org/comment system and click the link to download the required files. Okay, so over here I've got two files open, Index.php and setup.php. The setup.php file is going to be used for simply setting up our database in MySQL and PHP. So we'll get started with this. Let's start off by opening our PHP traces, and we're going to create our connect variable. This should be familiar from previous tutorials. And we're going to try connect in an if statement. And if it succeeds, we're going to do some code. And if it doesn't, we're going to die. We're going to kill the script and give the message failed to connect to database. And we'll append our MySQL error. Alright, if it has connected, we want to create a database. So what we're going to do is create a query and store it in our variable called query. And this query will say create database comments. So the database name will be comments. And then we need to execute that query. Again, we're going to be using an if statement. If MySQL_query and our query inside the parameters. So if it executes the query successfully, we're going to do something. Otherwise, we're going to die. Let me just copy and paste this code. With the error failed to create database and append the MySQL error. So if it does create the database, we want it to create a table in that database. So this is going to be another query. Name it query 1. Create table, we'll just name it data. And in the columns, we'll have one column for name. We'll set that as a variable character of 20 characters. And the second column will be comment. And we'll set that as a variable character of 500 characters, which means that our comments will be limited to 500 characters in length. And then we need to select the database. So MySQL select database. The name of our database is comments, so that's the first parameter. And the second parameter is our connection, which is $connect. And then we need to execute our query. So if MySQL query 1, so if it executes successfully, we're going to echo everything went wrong. Please delete setup.php now. Otherwise, we're going to die with the error failed to create table and append the MySQL error. So I think that's about right. Let's go to our web browser and attempt to run this. Okay, so it seems everything went fine. We can check this in our php.myadmin. Let's go to php.myadmin now, and there's our database comments. And there's our table data, and there's nothing in it, so we can't pass it. But we will be adding things to it soon. Now it's time to write the code for Index.php. we'll begin by creating a simple HTML page with a form. So we create the form, we set the action to the page itself, and the method to post. I'm just going to pause the video recording. This is quite a boring thing. You all know how to do it, so hold on a second. Okay, so I've created the form and cleaned up a little bit here. Let me just go through it with you quickly. We've got, well, that's pretty obvious. We've got a label. This is just standard stuff. An input text field named name. A text area, in other words, a multi-line text field named comment. And a submit button. Right, so that's the easy stuff. It doesn't look that great, but this is a coding tutorial, not a styling tutorial. There's certainly a lot more you can do with the styling, but for this tutorial we're going to be detailing how the system is written. Alright, now we're going to start with the recapture, the anti-spam, Google's anti-spam system. What you need to do now is register for Recapture by going to google.com/recapture. You should get to a page that looks similar to this. Simply click on Use Recapture on your site and then sign up now. This is going to prompt you to sign up for a Google account. If you've already got one, it's going to prompt you to log in. And if you're already signed in, like I am, it's not going to give you anything. But I'm already signed in, you will need to sign in. Otherwise, we've got a few things to look at here. We're going to be running the script on our local machine. So we're going to set localhost as the domain. And we're going to enable this key on all domains. So we can create the key. Now over here, we've got some very valuable information. In fact, it's really just these two pieces of information that we really need. This is the private key is like a password, hence why it's called private. So that's why I can't show it to you. You should protect it. You should treat it like a password. But these are the two pieces of information we're going to need when we start coding. So for now, let's just leave this page open. And if you open the files that I told you to download earlier on, you should get something. You should have three files. You should have a file called form code, a file called recaptcha lib.php, and a file called server code. First of all, you need to move the recaptcha lib file into the file of your index.php. So in my comment system folder, we've got the index.php, the setup.php, which I need to delete, and the recaptcha lib.php. Once you've done that, you should take a look at the form code. This is just some simple PHP that's easier to copy than write down. Inside your form, just copy this code real quick, and just before the submit button, paste the code. I'm just going to neaten it up a bit. What this is doing is requiring the recaptcha library that we've put in the same folder, and then setting the variable public key to your public key, which is what we need to change. If we go back to our web browser and we go to the recaptcha page, we need to copy this public key and paste it into the variable public key. And then it's calling the function recaptcha get HTML and using the public key as a parameter. Basically, if we navigate to our index.php now, we should see something that looks like this. I'm sure you've seen that before somewhere. Now we need to write, so we've just included the capture form into our comment system. That was pretty simple, I hope, for you guys. Now we're going to write what happens when someone clicks post a comment and we need to write the code in PHP to handle whether or not someone typed in the captcha correctly. So since we're sending this form to the same page, we need to write the code above. I'll just start off by opening up PHP braces. And this is going to be we start out with an if statement saying if $_post. So that's checking if the page is currently receiving a post request from a form. Otherwise, it won't do anything. If it is receiving something, it will execute the code in here. What we're going to want to do is assign variables $name to the name put in the form. And we'll do the same for comments. Comment. So that's storing the two pieces of information from the form in two variables. Then what we want to do is create our connect variable again, just like in setup.php. And we'll try connect. Do something, if not, die with the message. This seems quite repetitive, but oh well, I already deleted the file, can't bother to get the result of it. Alright, once it's connected, we want to select the database. So MySQL _select _database. The database was named comments, and the connection, which is the second parameter, is stored in the connect object, the connect variable. So then we want to insert the two pieces of data, name and comment, into our table data. So what we do, we create a query, and this will be insert into data. Now I'm just going to write this out and explain it to you because it can be quite confusing for some people. This will seem really messed up, but it's actually pretty simple. Just want to make sure everything's good. Alright, you might notice there's a lot of double quotes here. That's because we've got two types of double quotes. We've got the type of double quotes that PHP is used to, which is used to define a string. And then we've got double quotes in our MySQL query as well. So we don't want PHP to look at that as a string delimiter. We want PHP just to look at it as a normal character. So the way we do this is escape it with a slash. So in effect, this, I'm just going to copy it down here and show you how it looks like. If we weren't in PHP, it would look like we're actually just doing this. Of course, since these are PHP variables, we have to close the braces, the quote, so that we can append it. But let's say we just wanted to enter a standard value like my name is Stefan, so I like Stefan, and my comment would be hello. That's basically what we're doing here, except with the variables that we've gotten from the post request. Alright, so echo, we want to check if this query executes properly. So if MySQL underscore query, and we'll use the query stored in our variable called query. Not very imaginative naming, but oh well. We want it to echo. Made a typo there. Success. This is just, we're just in the testing phase at the moment. We're not actually doing anything yet. Else, we want to, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Okay, that's it. That's fine. All right, so let's go to our browser and see what's going on. Oh wait, hold on just one moment. I completely forgot to implement the server-side code of the capture system. So if you go into the files folder that you downloaded and you open the server code, you'll get something that looks like this. I'm just going to copy what's inside right now, and it's going to be quite messy, a lot of copying and pasting. I'm going to paste that there, make it a bit neater. Alright, so this code I've gotten actually from Google. I didn't write this. But, alright, first thing, it's requiring the recapture library. Then you need to store your private key over here. I'll do that just now. And here's just some fancy Google stuff. Basically, over here it's checking if they did not enter, the user did not enter the recapture hold on, let me restart. If the user did not enter the recapture properly, it's going to say, dude, you messed up, look where you're typing, go back and try again. Otherwise, this is what happens when it's a success. So we're just going to copy the rest of our code, the code that we've just written, and we'll put it in the else part of here. Why is it so messy down? Yeah, alright. So now it's actually checking, it's going to check if the user entered the recapture properly. If it has, it's going to execute the code we've just written. And if it hasn't, it's going to give an error message. Let's go check out what's really happening now. Alright, so let's test this out. I'm just going to write Stefan as the name, and my comment will be hello there. And we need to add tags. Right, post comment. Excellent, no error, I was expecting that. Here's what Recapture said. This is what Google's error reporting system is saying. Invalid site private key. Right, this is because we didn't even add our private key to the server-side code. If you look in Notepad++, we never defined the variable private key, as you might have noticed before. I was just testing you guys. So if we go back to our page and we copy our private key, and we paste it back here, we save it, and we try it again. Alright, so name Stefan, comment again. Oh god, I can't read that. Get a new challenge. NTSKTIO post comment. Great, so it's been a success. Right now our table of comments should be populating itself. Right, the last part of the system is to get the comments from that table and print it out on the screen. So that's what we're going to do now. Alright, so this is going to be outside the if statement because we want to execute this code whether it doesn't really matter if we're receiving requests or not. It must always display the comments above it. So outside the if statement comment block, we're going to write our MySQL. Copy that. Right, and lots of repetitive work. I really should find a way of automating this. Else than MySQL. Alright. So now we're going to be retrieving the values from the database. So the first thing we need to do is select the database. So MySQL select database db. Database name was comments, and the connection was $connect. Okay. Once it's selected, we want to we want to create a query first of all. Query 7 for the sake of it. And this query is going to be called select star, which means select everything from the table data. That's our query. Now, that should be pretty simple. That's a SQL command. Select means get. Star is a wildcard, which means anything or everything, depending which way you look at it, from data, the table data. I hope you guys are understanding this. Anyway, now we need to create a new query, a new variable called result. We'll set this to MySQL _query. Also query 7. Alright, so what it's doing now, it's executing the query. We know that this query is going to return values. So it's storing these values in an object called result. Now I'm not going to go into objects. I'm not going to go into explaining what objects are right now. Just accept it for now. I think that's just a lot easier. Then we need to create a while statement. While. Then we're going to create a variable in our while statement called row. So while our variable row is set to MySQL fetch array, the parameter will be the object, in other words, our result. Do something. Okay, so while the variable row is equal to results. Result right now contains, it's sort of like raw data, and this command, this function is taking that raw data and storing it in an array called $row. I'm not sure if I explained that completely well, but whatever, you'll get the idea soon enough. Then what we need to do is simply echo $row, and as the parameter, as the pointer name, it's going to be the column name. So in this case, we want it to be the name of the commenter, the user that commented. Then we're going to add a break tag, and then we're going to echo the comment. Alright, I think that's good. I'm making a lot of mistakes today. Let's go check it out. Right, cool, it's working. I think the break tag is a bit messed up. As you can see, I did do some testing before. Let's go back and maybe add a second break tag here. Save that and refresh. Alright. You know what, I'm going to go to my localhost and I'm going to remove the comments so we can start further. Or how do I do that? PHP admin. Comments. Our table is called data. We're going to browse it. I'm just going to delete both of these things. Delete. Okay. Delete. Okay. So if we go back, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen now if it doesn't throw an error. Yeah, okay, no error. Let's test out our system. Name is Stefan, and I want to say hello. So must tree side up. Let's add something. Alright. So everything's going well. It's still echoing the success message, which is not great. We need to remove that. Let's see. Okay, I can remove that. Right. Just leave that blank, I think. And over here, you can add a colon, remove the break tag, and add a break tag at the end. This is just formatting stuff. You can play around with this. Let's refresh that. I don't want to resend the post. Alright. One break tag will make it good. Alright, that's perfect. So we can add another name, good, and you. And let's just test it. God, what is that? Fresh. These things are getting harder and harder. Alright. Alright, so there you have it. Alright, that's the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in more tutorials, visit my website, howtocompute.org.